Hello there and welcome to my annual fireside chat where I answer any questions you might have for me about being an independent board game designer. I ask people to send me their questions on Instagram and YouTube, so let's jump right into it. The first question is, what good thing happened to you this year that you weren't expecting? So in September, I got an email from a PR firm and they asked me if I would be interested in making a game for them for one of their clients. I've never gotten a request like that before, so it was basically being commissioned to make a game for a client for a one-time payment rather than the traditional route of pitching a game to a publisher and then they license the game from you, but you still retain the rights and you can get the rights back once the game stops selling. In this case, I would be creating a game and then selling the game to this PR firm who would then be using it as a promotional product for their client. So this was a very interesting and new experience for me. So that was really cool. And it was a great design challenge because I came up with 10 different possible games for this product and I presented it to the PR firm. They picked their top 4 and then I made 4 digital prototypes of those games. I play tested it with them. And then they chose their top game that they liked the most. I made a physical prototype out of that one, play tested that, and then just sent off the final files a couple weeks ago. And that, from idea to completion, was about 2 months. So it was a very quick turnaround. And I got paid at the start of the project. And then now I'll be paid at the end of the project and then we'll be done with it. So it was nice to actually get paid quickly and in full. Normally with traditional publishers, you get paid in advance. And if a publisher does not offer you in advance, you need to make sure you get paid in advance. And then you have to wait 1 or 2 years before the game actually comes out and hopefully starts earning royalties. You do have to recoup that advance first, and then you'll get royalties beyond that. And so it can be quite a while before you actually make any money from the game that you pitched to a publisher. So this was an interesting thing that was very unexpected, came out of nowhere. And it's a new sort of opportunity that I see now for my design business where I can make these games on a contract basis, on a commission basis, where I am making the game, but then essentially selling the game to these companies that they can do whatever they want with. And I get paid a certain amount to do that work. And I really enjoyed it. So hopefully I get more opportunities like that in the future. I keep forgetting to ask them how they found me. I'm going to ask them to see how they found me to reach out to me about this opportunity, but I'm assuming it's through my website. So if you want to possibly get opportunities like this as well, I would definitely recommend creating a website that shows the different games that you have made or published or maybe works in progress so that other companies that might be looking for independent game designers to hire for something like this can easily find you. So if that interests you as possibly something to do, then that would be a good idea. You could also be proactive and reach out to PR firms saying, I'm a game designer. If you want to make a promo product for one of your clients, reach out to me. So yeah, it's just a very interesting sort of avenue that opened up for me this year. The next question is, what do you feel was your greatest achievement in 2024? Definitely my party game, Blob Party, winning Party Game of the Year at the Dice Tower Awards at Gen Con. And so I got to go up on stage and accept the award and give a speech and all that. And it was one of the highlights, if not the biggest highlight of my game design career so far. And then just another one was that I did sign a game this year, which I'm really excited about. Again, I can't say anything about it, but hopefully I can speak about it soon. I really wanted to sign at least one game this year, and I definitely was hustling and trying to and pitching and trying to get a few games signed ideally, but I did get one signed, so that's a 100% increase from last year. And then what are you looking forward to in the new year? I will have 2 board games coming out in 2025. So I'm very excited about that. And I also should be launching a mobile game that I've been working on for a while with my video game development partner. We're aiming to have that come out in April 2025. So I'm really excited for that to come out. That'll be my first foray into self-publishing, but it's self-publishing a mobile game rather than self-publishing a physical board game. I'm also very excited to be going to Dice Tower East the board game convention in Orlando, Florida in early July 2025. It'll be my first time going to any Dice Tower convention, and I've just heard they're a ton of fun with a real focus on just playing games. So I don't plan on pitching. I will most likely bring my solo sheets just in case, but I just want to play games and just have fun. And so my good friend Katrina will be joining me for that, and we're also going to be going to Disney World and Universal as well. So I'm so excited for that trip. That's going to be so much fun. Okay, and then who's one designer and or publisher that you haven't worked with but would love to? So I don't co-design. I don't have any plans to co-design, so there's no designer out there that I plan on working with. But for publishers, I would love to work with the publishers of Tapple, Flip 7, Gnome Hollow, a ton of great games, both party and hobby games. And I like to design both party and strategy games. And they just seem like a great company to work with. So the would be great. And then also Office Dog, they're under the umbrella of Asmodee, and they're a great team there as well. And so I would love to work with them in the future. Okay, how many different games are you working on right now, and what stage of development are they? So I'm ordering this in most complete to just an idea in my head. So I have a strategy game I've been working on since last March, so almost a year, and it is pretty much done. I'm mainly just focusing on seeing if I can get it to a 5-player count and maybe a solo version, and adding more secret endgame objectives and different little small tweaks essentially. So it's pretty much done. That was a lot of work to get to this point, so I'm very happy that that one is basically done. That strategy game I'm currently pitching. I am currently pitching to 3 different publishers. They all seem various degrees of interested, so we'll see what happens. I also have a party game that I'm really happy with that I am also pitching. Yeah, so hopefully that one also gets some traction. My mobile game that I mentioned earlier is basically done, hopefully. Like game design wise, we're kind of just making it look pretty. So it's almost done as well. I do have a trivia game. The concept is done, but coming up with all the questions takes a long time. So I'm not quite sure it's worth the effort. I do think it's a cool idea. I think it makes a very highly replayable trivia game, which is one of the biggest design hurdles of designing a trivia game, is to make it replayable. I do think this addresses that in a very interesting way. And so maybe it's just a case of finding the right publisher for it. But yeah, so that the core concept of that one is done. I also have a party game I completely forgot about that I made last year. I submitted it to a publisher. It was ultimately a no, and then I just was focusing on other projects and I completely forgot about it. And I looked it up the other day, and I have a complete video. Rules are done. The gameplay is entirely done. And I was like, why did I just completely drop this? I just forgot about it. And it's a fun game. So I think I will be reviving that and pitching that out to publishers in 2025, because I only really send it to that one. I have a couple ideas for print and play games, so they're just ideas in my head. So these would be games that I would design and then put up on different websites, and then people can download them and then play them just by printing them out and playing. So I think it's a really cool idea. So I do have a couple ideas for a couple print and plays. I also have an idea for a solo game that I'm really excited about. And I've been thinking about it a lot. So also still just up here, but in the next few weeks, once a few other things are kind of wrapped up, I would really love to start working on that. I also have 2 strategy games on the back burner. One of them got very far with a publisher, but then it ultimately didn't work out. So I'm trying to see if I can retheme that. It was using a certain IP that didn't work out, so it'd have to be rethemed, and I just haven't thought of a good retheme yet. So, but that game is complete, so I think I might try and revive it. I also have another co-op game with limited communication that I really enjoy playing, and playtesters seem to enjoy it, but it hasn't gotten any traction with publishers. So that is on the back burner right now, but it might just get archived. Okay, do you have a grail design, something you haven't figured out quite how to accomplish, but that you'd like to achieve someday? So one thing I would love to be able to do one day, and it's very ambitious, but I would like to come up with an even better suite of mobile games than the New York Times. I know that's audacious to say, but shoot for the stars. So the one game that I have already designed that should hopefully be coming out in April, I'm already kind of thinking about other games to add to the app so that it wouldn't just be the one game. It would be multiple different games that people can play, just like how in the New York Times app, you can play Wordle, Strands, Connections, and so on. I saw there was a job posting to be the games director for the New York Times games department, and I seriously considered applying for that. But I was just like, you know what? I'm going to challenge myself to kind of like pretend that I do have that job. I'm the games director of the New York Times games. What kind of games could I come up with, but put them out myself on my own app, in my own game bundle suite of games? So that would be amazing. That's something that I would love to be able to do. So yeah, that's not board game design related, but is game design related. And then we have, how long do you test the game until you submit it? So I'm assuming it's like submitting it to a publisher, pitch it to a publisher. So I'll pitch a game once playtesters are talking mostly about how much they enjoyed the game, what they liked about it, that they want to play again, more so than all the issues that they felt were in the game or anything they didn't like or not talking at all. If playtesters are talking about how much they enjoyed it, what they loved about it on a consistent basis, that's when a game is definitely pitchable. Also, when I find myself, when I play the game, if I find I'm just losing myself in the game, either if it's a party game, I'm just having fun and just having a great time, or if it's a strategy game and I'm really just focusing on my strategy and what I want to do on my turn to win, more so than thinking about like, oh, that's not working, I need to change that. Oh, I don't really like how that's working. If I'm just playing the game as well, when I'm playtesting it, then I know it's definitely ready to pitch. Okay, and then how often do you submit games to publishers per month/year? So I'm fairly sporadic. I don't have a regular schedule for this, but I would say I usually pitch around 5 different games a year. But like in 2023, I pitched 14 different games. I think that was too many. I think that was a bit quantity over quality. So usually around 5 different games I'm pitching every year, I would say. Is there any common design advice that you don't agree with or feel just doesn't work for your process? One thing that I kind of have changed my mind on is the idea of playtesters should only point out problems, not offer solutions. That's the designer's job. And while I do mostly agree with that, and I have said so in some of my videos, my view has changed a bit. Where I do think the primary purpose of playtesters is to point out frustrations, things they didn't like, also things that they did like. I ultimately see playtesters as my collaborators. And I have even applied some of the ideas or suggestions that playtesters had for my games that have been great. So I don't like it when a playtester, usually another designer, starts listing off a bunch of different suggestions like, what if you tried this? What about this? What about that? Without identifying what problem their suggestions are trying to solve. And they're basically just trying to redesign the game into a different kind of game that they prefer. But if the playtesters and the designer identify a certain problem, I do think brainstorming together, collaborating, coming up with ideas to try to solve that problem with the playtesters is totally a great thing. And then it's ultimately up to the designer to decide what changes to make, what suggestions to actually apply. So I do think it's a bit of a more nuanced thing rather than playtesters should never make suggestions or offer solutions. But I do think that playtesters, especially other designers, should be cautious and aware of what problem they're trying to solve with their suggestions, making sure there is actually an identifiable problem they're trying to solve. And are they just trying to make this a completely different game that they personally prefer? All right, if you had access to any IP, what game would you most want to design? Okay, so for books, different books I would love to make a board game for. I just read the first Mistborn book, Final Empire, and of course, a fantastic deck building game just came out for that book. And I've watched some videos. I haven't played it, but it looks amazing. But as I was reading that book, I was thinking, this could be a really cool board game. And it seems like the designer, John D. Clare, who made the deck building game for Mistborn did a really fantastic job and did a lot of the things that I was thinking could work in a board game. So I'm a little late on that one, but that would have been cool. My favorite book of all time is Ready Player One, and I would absolutely love to make a board game for that book. That would be so cool. Another book that I would love to make a board game for is The Martian. The idea of like preparing to venture out onto a planet and just all the possible things that could go wrong. And I am currently thinking about a game that I want to make that's based on a book that is in the public domain. So I can do whatever I want with it, which is pretty cool. And I'm really excited about that. Different video games I would like to make that I would potentially love to make a board game for are Mega Man, all the different bosses and how you can level up and get different suits to attack the different bosses in different ways would be super fun. And also Riven is more of like an exploration adventure game. That would be really cool. Okay, please tell us your top 5 board game designers and your favorite game from their portfolio. If you've watched a few of my videos and streams, you'll know that I love Phil Walker Harding's games. He is one of my top role models for game designers. I've played quite a few of his games, and my favorite one of his games is Emotep. It's a very cool game. I highly recommend playing that and as many Phil Walker Harding games as you can. He has a very wide variety of types of games that he makes, and that's why I really respect him and look up to him a lot. I love his catalog of games. Another one of my favorite designers is Connie Vogelman, who has designed 2 of the top games to come out recently, Wormspan and Apiary. But my favorite is Wormspan. I absolutely love Wormspan. It's such a great game. Oh my goodness. And then Roberta Taylor, fantastic designer. And I love Creature Comforts. A really fun dice worker placement game. And then also Jamie Stegmaier. I've played quite a few of his games, but my favorite is Viticulture, a worker placement game about running your own vineyard. And he's coming out with a game called Vantage in 2025 that I'm really looking forward to. It seems really, really cool. And also Matt Leacock. So I applied a lot of things that I learned from playing a lot of his co-op games into my co-op game that I made called Chronicles of Light. And I just think he is a fantastic designer, but specifically for cooperative games. So my favorite game of his is Pandemic. I played that recently, and it is such a great game, and it has withstood the test of time. It's been out for quite a few years now, and it's still just such a solid game with so many interesting mechanics that were so new when it came out. And just a bonus one here, I'm going to say Stefan Feld, although I have not played any of his other games, but I'm currently obsessed with Castles of Burgundy. And so I want to try to play more of his games because I am absolutely loving everything design-wise about Castles of Burgundy. And the last question is, I'm enjoying your journey as a self-employed game designer. When is your anniversary? So I'm assuming, yeah, that's the anniversary of when I quit my day job and went out on this quest to be a full-time board game designer. And so I looked up to see when my last day was at my last day job, and that was April 28th, 2023. So I should definitely put that in my calendar as a day to celebrate. And so I'm coming up on almost 2 years now. And I've really had to check myself, be like, because I've just, in my head, I'm just like, oh, I'm going to try to make it. I'm going to see how long I can go for. And I've had to stop and be like, it's been almost 2 years now where I haven't had to get another day job. And so like I'm doing the thing. I have done the thing. Like, yeah, I need to stop always, I guess, feeling like this is something I'm trying to do or like I'm going to try to do, like I am doing it. So that is very cool. It was very scary to quit that security of the day job, and I'm not encouraging anyone out there to quit their day job. I had saved up some money to support myself while I pursued designing games and making YouTube videos full time. And I definitely depleted that. I definitely had to take a little bit out of my investments, just a little bit. I have since repaid that. And I also have had to greatly reduce my expenses by subletting my apartment for 6 months of the year. So I essentially got like a roommate. I have someone subletting my apartment for half the year, then I live in my apartment for half the year. So it's like having a roommate that you don't ever see. It's kind of nice. But if I didn't do that, there's no way I'd be able to. I would need to get a day job for sure. But being able to not pay rent for 6 months, I can do it. I can do this thing and I can keep doing it for a little while. So I'm just seeing how long I can keep doing this. If it ever gets to a situation where I need to pull money out of my investments and not replenish that in a timely manner, then that's time I need to get a day job, because I want my investments to grow on their own. And as long as I don't touch them, I should be able to reach financial independence in, 15 years, 10, 15 years. So as long as I don't touch them and I can just support myself from the money I make from designing games and making YouTube videos, I can keep doing this. But if it ever gets to a point where I am withdrawing from my investments, then that doesn't work. That doesn't work with the plan. So yeah, I have been able to make it work for almost 2 years, and we'll see how much longer we can go for. Any plans for the new year or things you want to develop or change in 2025? I do want to explore more ways that I can make and create things and then get them out to people directly without having to go through a publisher, but without the risk or the investment of making a physical game or a physical product. So the different things that I'm looking into are print-on-demand games through the Game Crafter. So making my own game, putting it up on the Game Crafter, and then people can buy the game directly from the Game Crafter who makes it on demand. So I wouldn't need to get a bunch of games manufactured and then find a place to store them and then deal with selling them and dealing with shipping them and all that stuff. The Game Crafter would deal with that. So that is something that I'm seriously looking into, as well as print on demand books. I might possibly write some sort of book, whether it's a puzzle book or some other type of book, a book about game design or something like that. That is something I'm thinking about as well, because I do know that Amazon has, a print on demand service. People can order books and then they're just printed as the orders come in. So that's something that I'm thinking about. And then also print and plays, creating games that people can print at home and play. I can make that. I can put that up on a website today and someone can print it and play it today. I absolutely love that. And then also just more mobile games that I can get out there and self-publish directly onto the different app stores. And I don't need to go through a publisher for that. And what is your convention schedule for this year? I will be at Terminal City Con in Vancouver in March. I will be at the Dice Tower East in Orlando in July. And I possibly will be at Gen Con in August. I'm not sure about that, but possibly. And that is it so far. So hopefully I see you at one of those conventions. And if any of my members will be at any of those conventions, so we should definitely have a meetup. I had a meetup with my members at PAX. I met up with some of my members at Gen Con, and it's just so awesome to meet you in person. Okay, so thank you so much to everyone who sent in questions. I really appreciate all of them. It was really fun to answer. I hope you enjoyed this. Maybe you learned a little something. Maybe it inspired something for you. If you have any other questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments and I will reply. But I actually have one question for you. I would like to know, what is one goal you have for 2025 related to board game or game design in general? Please let me know down in the comments, and hopefully my videos and my Discord will help you achieve your game design goals this next year. Thanks again, everyone, for your questions and for watching. Happy holidays, and I hope you have a fantastic new year.